Well, in the high-scoring 7-6 matchups, it's the Brewster Whitecaps that take the W in this one. I'm Blaine McCormick, joined along by Kyle Kirchville and Justin Galanti for Tomahawk Talk. There was a flurry of offense in both of the teams today. Lots of bats, lots of hits, and a lot of runners crossing the plate today. What was the biggest thing for the Braves that was early on in the game that had them going in that 4-run inning?
Well, a classic situation for the Braves offensively where they score a whole bunch of runs in one inning. Typically, we look at this offense and say, well, that's probably the last time they're going to be able to scratch something across just based on the statistics and how history would indicate. But tonight they were able to scratch on some more runs later in the game and stay in it all the way through despite the bullpen being a little shaky tonight. I think one thing that needs to be brought up tonight is I thought Larry Rosenberg behind the plate was managed his strike zone interestingly in the fact that he really wasn't giving too many first pitch strikes and was really kind of leaning towards hitters, so that helped propel this game as far as offense goes. When pitchers can't really get into a groove and they're already down 1-0, 2-0 in a count, typically you're throwing more balls over the plate and more offense typically occurs. And
like you said, Kyle, there's a lot of those situations that lead to runners getting on base via the walks, via the small groundouts or anything like that. What did Brewster do later on in the game that really propelled them to get this solid win tonight?
Well, I just thought the Whitecaps were having really good at-bats, putting the ball in play and hitting it hard. And, well, when you can get guys on base and somebody like Chandler Taylor can hit a 3-run home run onto the batting cage in left field from the left side of the plate, well, that works for you. And you have to think back to that inning where Chad Linsman, this was actually in the 8th inning, Linsman with men on base, got a ground ball to second base. There's a little bit of a bobble. They don't turn the double play. The game was tied at the point. They don't turn the double play, and then Nick Dunn comes through with an RBI single to win the game for Brewster. And you say, well, maybe if that defensive play is executed properly, then you're still in the game. There were a lot of little things that go into it that you don't necessarily think about when the game is this high scoring and there's this many hits. But the Whitecaps, you have to give them credit. They had a lot of good at-bats, tons of guys on base, and they deserved all the runs they scored tonight.
Well, moving on to our Players of the Game segment, I'm going to go with Richard Palacios for this one. Richie's been on a tear lately and has really hit the ball effective, seeing the ball really well across the plate. Today he had a 2 RBI double that really propelled him into the statistic books. And in my mind, he's one of these players on the Braves that he might not have the greatest game every night, but he's consistently at the plate delivering what he does best. He delivers hits, and when he needs to be brought up in these clutch situations, a lot of cuss in there. When he needs to be brought up in these clutch situations, he delivers. So it's all that time in the cage, all that time working off of the tee, and he's really seeing the ball well. Richie, you get my Player of the Game.
Well, I have to give a tip of the cap tonight to the Brewster Whitecaps catcher, Justin Kuntz. I thought he was fantastic behind the plate tonight, and in these kind of games where it comes down to one run in a slugfest, it's the little things like stopping wild pitches, gunning down runners on the base paths that get the victory. He went 0-4 with 4 strikeouts tonight and 5 ABs. Not the greatest night at the plate, but if you can put together that kind of performance defensively, you're going to find yourself in the lineup. Player of the Game tonight has to go to Andy Atwood. Obviously, the big bomb out to left field tonight. Justin and I have talked about this on the broadcast multiple times. This guy has put together excellent at-bat after excellent at-bat, but it really, as far as the stats go, he's not really getting rewarded other than walks. Obviously, you love to see that 9 guys serve as your secondary leadoff guy and find a way on base for the top of the order, but tonight he was able to break into the hit column with a big-time home run, found himself on base more often than not, and without his performance, I think the Braves' offense works a lot more ineffectively.
I'm going to give a tip of the cap to Andy Atwood for all the reasons Kyle said, but I'll go kind of on Blaine's train of thought. A guy who's been getting a ton of clutch hits of late and had 2 more tonight, Lyle Lynn. 2 more RBIs for him. He leads the team in batting average, leads the team in RBIs, and he's just been outstanding over the last week and a half, hitting over 400. He's been an absolutely dynamic part of the Braves lineup, and he was again tonight, so Lyle's my Player of the Game.
Well, the combination of all 3 of these players really brought the Braves to an offensive showcase here today. Unfortunately for them, Brewster also had a showcase of their own with many hits and then scoring 7 runs to win the game today. But we want to thank everybody for tuning in to Tomahawk Talk. We also want to thank all of the servicemen and women who are serving. It was Military Appreciation Day here at Bourne Park. Talked to a lot of cool fellows that have served in the armed forces and have, given their lives to make sure that our country is free and great just the way it is today. So want to thank everybody that's done their service today. We'll catch you next game, as tomorrow we will head on the road once again. It's kind of been a flip-flop of away game then home game, so expect that schedule for the rest of the year. But thank you all for tuning in to Tomahawk Talk once again. For Justin Galanti and Kyle Kirchville, I'm Blaine McCormick, and we'll see you on the next pitch.